Welcome to the Silver Screen Podcast. I'm Jared Boomer.
And I'm Katie Gainey West. This is a podcast about movies and pop culture.
And today we are talking about the new movie based off the Broadway musical, which is based off of a book. That's Wicked, starring Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo in the lead roles of Glinda and Elphaba. So excited to talk about this one. This one has definitely been marketed for, it feels like the past,
18 years.
year and a half. Yeah. I feel like every time I went to the movies, I saw a preview for this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then the stores were overrun with merchandise. Everyone was capitalizing on Wicked and the hysteria.
Target is like wicketed out. I mean,
It is.
that's like...
You know what, though? I love the color combination of pink and green together. So I do like that. But I was like, wow, enough already.
I did see that some Targets actually got green shopping carts. Now, our
No.
Target did not, but I think certain ones got green shopping carts for Wicked. So,
wow, true.
But
dedication.
there's a big display in there when I went in there a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. So, yeah. It's been everywhere, and now it's finally out. And this is only part one, of course, because that's what you do
Yes.
nowadays, is you turn a 2.5-hour musical into two 2.5-hour movies, I guess.
Correct.
To, make more money. So,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about Wicked here on the show today. We do have some news items for now. First, we want to talk to you about, obviously, we haven't had an episode in a while, and what our plan is kind of moving forward. So we're going to kind of do sporadic episodes. Our plan might be to end the podcast with the Oscars next year. That might be like our final kind of send off. It's just gotten harder to do episodes, just due to kind of some of our lifestyle changes and what's happened and things. So, obviously you have a child now, so that it takes priority. So, so it's just been hard to do episodes on a regular basis. So we'll still have some between now and then. We still have a few movies that we're going to cover. And in fact, we're going to have another episode on Gladiator that will come out soon after this one. So, Gladiator 2. So check that out. But episodes with regularity really won't be happening, and then we'll probably wrap it up with the Oscars episode, I would think. And we're still going to do an episode of our top movies of 2024 too. So
yes, but thanks for sticking with us. We love doing the podcast. It's been a great experience for us, but we just figured it's not something we can produce regularly at this point. So we kind of wanted to give you a heads up. But we do know for sure we're going to cover Nosferatu and A Complete Unknown, which are big movies coming out on Christmas that a lot of people are looking forward to. And Jared and I love doing the Oscars episode. How could we ever miss it?
Yes, that is always a lot of fun. I'm guessing we'll probably do our top movies of 2024 episode near when the Oscar nominations come out. We might talk about both those things in the same episode for sure. So we do have our Oscars host, though. Speaking of the Oscars, Conan O'Brien will be hosting the Oscars for the first time next year. I'm a big Conan fan. I've always been a big Conan fan. He's never hosted the Oscars before. He has hosted some other award shows. I think he's a good choice, though. I'm guessing Jimmy Kimmel just did not want to do it again for another year, probably. So, but I think these late night guys are pretty well suited to host these award shows. It's pretty similar in terms of what you're doing. And obviously Kimmel was very good at it the past couple of years, but now Conan will have a chance to host. So
I think Conan is a great pick. I'm really excited. And I think it'll be different. I like Jimmy Kimmel, but I think it's nice to kind of have a change of pace. And people miss Conan. I think he left his late night show like at the right time, but I think people really miss him, and he is still very relevant and has his podcast and stuff that's super famous. So I thought that was a great pick.
I mean, I don't think his podcast is more popular than ours, but
no. The demand has been crazy, people.
I mean, yeah, he's having like celebrities on, but like he's never had us on. So
we have to turn celebrities away.
Yeah, we're like no,
we're like the people only want us.
Yeah. Sorry, Timothée Chalamet. We could
I
not get you on today.
Never turn him away. How dare you? Also, what would an episode be? For those of you who are new to the podcast, weird time to pick it up, but also
welcome in.
We have to welcome, and we have to always mention Timothée Chalamet or Tom Hanks in the episodes. It's like bad luck if we don't.
Did you see that new Tom Hanks movie? Because I did not. The one that came out a few weeks ago with Robin Wright?
No.
Yeah,
no.
I didn't go see that. No. Sorry,
No,
Tom.
I did of course watch his publicity for it though when he was making the
Oh
rounds
yeah,
talking about it. I was watching every interview with Tom. You know
he
what's
was hitting
terrible?
the
I
trail.
still
Yeah,
I still haven't read his book that I was gifted for Christmas or my birthday last year.
I
Oops,
haven't either. His new
man.
book I have on my bookshelf downstairs. Have not read it yet.
Wow.
So I'm
Yeah.
slacking with Tom
Maybe
Hanks.
in 2025. I have high hopes for 2025.
Yes. Also, the other big news item that happened, it'll be a little old by the time you hear this. Maybe they'll have found the assassin by the time you hear this, but they haven't at this point. But the United Healthcare CEO was shot in New York City earlier this week when we're recording this, just really out of the blue, unexpected. And one morning
Yeah.
just got shot. And then I think that put a lot of other companies kind of on edge in
Hmm.
terms of what might happen to their higher ups. And so some other companies are taking precautions, I believe, at this point now, too, after that happened. And they still have not been able to find this killer that
Yeah.
shot him. So,
They think he left New York and he definitely came from Atlanta. And I think they know who he is. I mean, they have a very clear picture of his face. I think they have his DNA from a water bottle, but obviously he's on the run and he's done a pretty good job of hiding so far. This was so weird though, because without saying too much, my husband and I both work in the realm of healthcare, and this dramatically impacted our jobs this week, which was crazy. Um, but the you know me and crime, I get interested in it, so I've
oh,
been reading all
yeah.
the theories. But also, I think this is so interesting because I don't think killing anybody is the way to solve anything. I honestly don't even know how much killing the CEO of an insurance company is going to impact our broken healthcare system. But I do understand people being so disappointed with claims and insurance and being denied stuff and being not covered and all that stuff. I totally get it. And our healthcare system is whack. It is so bad. And just so I can't think of the word, but excuse me, like it's not equal in any
Yeah. It's
capacity.
not very like consumer friendly at all. That's
Right.
for
So I
sure.
get it. I
So,
get it. Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
But
So
that's
it's a
where we're
big
at.
news
But
item.
either way, it was a very eventful true crime situation, and they haven't caught him as of today. We're recording this. Oh, today is D-Day, Pearl Harbor Day.
Yes, it is. So,
So that's when we're recording the episode. So as of right now, they haven't found him.
yes. And then our final news item is Variety has announced their actors on actors for this season. If you don't know, Variety's actors on actors. It's just actors interviewing other actors. They put them up on their social media. So by the time you hear this episode, some of these will probably be out. They're going to release one a day for 12 consecutive days. And they will have
It's like the
started
12
that
days
when
of
I
Christmas.
know. They'll have started
Cute.
that when you hear this episode, but they may not all be out. So, would you like to know who will be chatting with each other for actors
Yes,
on
I want to
actors?
know. I told Jared not to tell me because I got so excited. Okay.
Okay. The first one I think is the most random.
Okay.
Andrew Garfield and Ryan Reynolds.
Huh. Okay. Oh, you know what? They're probably doing like a superhero situation, even though
I would
what's his face isn't
guess,
a
but
superhero. But I bet that's why
Andrew,
they paired
Andrew
them.
Garfield was just in that new romantic movie with Florence
He
Pugh, which
was.
I
He
did not
was.
see.
We
So,
live in time.
yes,
That's
that's
what
what
it's
it's
called.
called. So,
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
that's one.
Okay.
Ariana Grande and Paul Mescal will be chatting with each
Oh,
other.
that's a good pairing. Also, how apropos for this episode.
Selena Gomez and Saoirse Ronan will be chatting with each
Oh, that's
other.
kind of a fun pairing.
I'm
Okay.
intrigued by that one.
I'm intrigued, but that'll be kind of fun to see the conversation they have since although Selena is quite an actress or whatever, she's also very known for music and Saoirse,
Yes.
that's just not her background.
Angelina Jolie and Cynthia Erivo.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
You know my thoughts on Angelina, but okay. Hmm.
yeah. This one's interesting to me. Zendaya and Nicole Kidman will be
Oh,
chatting with each other.
oh, I
So
think that'll be a good one.
I think that'll be
Okay.
interesting.
Yes.
And obviously, these actors are doing this because a lot of them are in movies that could get Academy Award nominations or other award nominations. So this is like some publicity for those things. So a
Right.
lot of these people are in movies that are getting considered for Oscars. We have Drew Starkey from Queer, which I have not seen, and then Harris
Oh,
Dickinson will be chatting with each other. So.
okay. I'd have to look them both up. I know both their names. And Queer, I know Daniel Craig is in
Mhm.
that, and he was just on Stephen Colbert talking about it.
Kate Winslet and Zoe Saldana. Okay.
Okay, wow.
Interested. Daniel Craig and Josh O'Connor from Challengers. That could be an intriguing
Oh, I
conversation.
like that. That's a good one. And they're both English.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
Pam-
good one.
Pamela Anderson and Mikey Madison from Honora, which I have not seen yet.
I
So,
haven't seen it, but that's interesting.
hmm
Pam Anderson is like, she's experiencing a resurgence.
we have three more:
Okay,
Coleman Domingo and Kieran Culkin,
excellent. Oh, that's going to be a good one. Okay, I'm in.
uh, Demi Moore and Amy Adams.
Okay.
Okay, neither of them I think are in movies that are going to get a lot of awards buzz. So,
Yeah.
and then this final one I feel like is going to be a very serious conversation about
Oh,
the art of acting.
dear.
Uh, Adrian Brody and Tilda Swinton.
Oh, that is such a good match, though, because they are both. I think Adrian Brody is good looking, but they are both such interesting looking people.
Yeah,
I would say that, dare I say, they almost resemble each other in a weird way.
they kind of do.
Very
So,
angular features.
yes.
Yeah.
Um,
DM me, everyone, if you know, if you agree, because I always say that. I always like people
DM
slide
me
my DMs with feedback on the podcast. You know what? It has happened.
on Instagram. Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
people have, but it's mainly friends that I already know. It's not strangers that come and find me.
Strangers, find
Yeah,
Katie's Instagram and
except
DM her.
except for all the celebrities that are clamoring to be on our
Yeah, all their
podcast.
publicists are in our DMs, but we just don't
Yeah, so they're
respond. So,
strangers, but by the end, we're friends.
I think for these, my most intriguing ones are Coleman Domingo and Kieran Culkin,
Yeah,
and then I mean, I got to go with Selena Gomez and Saoirse Ronan.
that's your
Saoirse's my
girl.
girl. Yeah. So,
Although everyone since our last recording of the podcast, Saoirse has gotten married and Jared's gotten married too. But I feel like the final nail in the coffin was Saoirse getting married.
yeah, I think that was probably what sealed it. You know, maybe had a chance before that, but she's happy, and I have not seen either of her movies that have come out this year, so
Yeah,
slacking there too. She's in
it's
Blitz, which
because
is
you're
on
heartbroken. It's
Apple
okay.
TV right now, and then she was in a movie called The Outrun earlier this year, which I think was okay, but it doesn't look like that's streaming anywhere yet. So she has blue hair in that one. So you
Oh,
know, maybe somebody, if you're listening, if you've seen either of those, let me know.
yeah. DM us.
DM us, yeah. Let us know. DM us. Okay, well, that's all of our news items. So let's go ahead and get into Wicked Part 1, released on November 22nd, rated PG for some scary action, brief suggestive material, and thematic material. It's a cool 2 hours and 40 minutes long. Yep, that's a thing. Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. IMDb is 8.1 out of 10, so very high. Rotten Tomatoes, critics 89%, audience 96%. Both critics and audiences loving this movie. And then box office wise, it's done very well here in the United States, over $214 million when we're recording this. Worldwide total is $264 million. So not as much money overseas, but that kind of makes sense because, it's more popular here in the US. So,
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, to be fair too, I should have repulled the numbers too. When I looked at box office numbers, I looked at those probably 5 days ago.
okay.
So
Let me
maybe I
see if
should
I
pull
can
the.
find, I can probably find some updated ones here real quick.
And well, while you're doing that, I was going to mention people were so respectful in my theater. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So because I knew they were telling people like don't sing and stuff, and it was pretty packed when I went. I went on a Monday night. It was super rainy. It was very cold, but there were quite a few people. I also have a funny thing that happened in the theater. Before the movie started, so I'm sitting by myself to see the film, and three people were sitting there, and they were actually in my spot. And the only reason I was worried about that was the last theater I went to. I think somebody snuck in. Something happened, and they came over to me and actually checked my ticket mid movie, like with flashlights and stuff. And I don't think they thought I did anything. I think they were checking seats. I don't know. But I asked the people to move. So anyway, they moved one over. So they could have gone anywhere else in the theater, but they just moved right next to me. But they turned out to be super nice. But this woman that was part of the group was two women and a man. This woman, I started talking to them, just making small talk. And I was telling them about RunPee, the app that you recommended to me, Jared, I have a funny story about that in our Gladiator episode, but I was telling them about RunPee. And then this woman goes, "This movie's 2 hours and 40 minutes long." And I was like, "Yeah." And I was a little like, "Do you know what movie you're at?" But I was like, "Yeah, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes." And then she was like, "I had no idea." And she kept saying to her friends, "It's 2 hours and 40 minutes," like confirming in front of me with them. And then, so then I told her, I looked up the run P times. I was like, "Okay, so if you guys are interested, do you guys want the 45 minutes in? Do you want the hour and 15?" Like I was reading it off. And then I said, "Well, and you know, this is only part one." And she goes, "This is only part one." It was like everything I was saying, she was repeating back. And by the end, I was just kind of like, "Ma'am, why are you here?" Like, you don't. And then I said, "Well, did have you seen it on Broadway or heard the music before?" And she's like, "No." And then, but she had no idea what movie she was at. So I think
Oh,
she
okay.
enjoyed it. I mean, she did know, but she just was, it seemed like all of this was brand new information and she could not believe there was going to be a part two that was just as long as part one, but she ended up enjoying it and they were really nice.
Nice. The guy next to me, older couple, I had the guy sitting in the chair next to me, reclined all the way back on his recliner. Then when the movie was he fell asleep a couple times. And then when the movie was over and it said to be continued, he said, "Oh, thank goodness." And then he just got up and was ready to roll. So,
That's amazing. Wow. Okay.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
people
he
spend their
was
money in different ways, you know?
also, somebody went to the bathroom, with clearly, like, 10 minutes left in the movie. I don't
Oh,
know how
come
you don't, like, see that it's coming to a
no.
close, so that was fun too.
No.
Anyway, box office for Wicked is now up to $285 million domestically,
Okay.
and then worldwide, it's at 382, so, very high. Synopsis for this: Elphaba, a misunderstood young woman because of her green skin, and Glenda, a popular girl, become friends at Shiz University in the Land of Oz after encounter with the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Their
Mhm.
friendship reaches a crossroads. Do we know why it's called Shiz University? I was trying
Um
to figure that out.
I no, I think it does have something to do with Wizard of Oz. Yeah, I think
Uh,
sorry, I should know this. I do think it has to do with the real book, The Wizard of Oz by Frank. Is it L. Frank Baum?
I think so. DM us if you know why it's
Yeah,
called
I mean,
Shiz
I'll look it up too.
University.
But
This
very
is
funny.
directed by John M. Chu. He's a writer, director, and producer. You may have seen some of his movies. He directed In the Heights, the adaptation of the Lin-Manuel Miranda musical, Crazy Rich Asians, and G.I. Joe Retaliation. Next up, he's listed as a producer for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Was that like the 95th adaptation of that or something? There's been a bunch of those so far. And then he's going to be an executive producer on the TV show The Swiss Family Robinson. So
Yeah,
apparently we're out of ideas.
I mean, we were already there. Yeah, absolutely. I did. Yeah, I don't understand the Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Green Dream Coat. I don't know about that one either. A green coat. Sorry, I was also looking up for Shiz University. Um,
Did you find anything?
no, because
Okay,
I'm
well,
also
oh well.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it immediately. So my bad. But was correct at least that the original Wizard of Oz was written by L. Frank Baum, which
Hmm.
I thought that, but I wanted to make sure. So I don't know, Shiz.
Okay, well,
Maybe we'll look
oh
it up.
well. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll figure it out later. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, talk about the cast and our likes and dislikes for Wicked. And we're back here on the show talking about Wicked. There's kind of co-leads in this movie. We'll start with Cynthia Erivo, who plays Elphaba.
Thank you, Jared. Cynthia Erivo. Wow. I mean, she and Ariana Grande have been busy with this press tour. Cynthia Erivo is an English actor, singer, and songwriter. She's known best in the film world for Harriet, Widows, and Bad Times at the El Royale. In 2020, she was nominated for Best Actress for Harriet. We did cover it on the podcast. It was episode 28. I was astonished when I saw that because it was just so far back. She gave a fantastic performance in that movie. I still remember that movie. It was the first time I'd really been exposed to her, and she was phenomenal. She already has 5 upcoming projects coming up, including Carrier, Blink Speed, and Wicked Part 2, which I heard is slated to be released for Thanksgiving next year,
Yeah,
2025.
glad she's back for the sequel.
Yeah.
Glad she didn't
Good.
get.
Yeah, she's kind of critical in that one. Next up, we have Ariana Grande Butera. She is listed as that in the credits, and that was also in the press junkets. They were talking about
Going by her
she's
real
made up
name.
with her
Yeah.
dad, and because she was estranged for her dad. I feel like I know everything about these people at this point. She plays Galinda, not Glenda, Galinda. She is, of course, a well-known singer and actress. She was originally introduced to us in the TV series Sam and Cat and Victorious. I think those were both Disney, right? Disney Channel.
Yeah, I
It
believe
was
so.
definitely after my Disney Channel days. Um, and
May
then
have been
she was also
Nickelodeon too. I can't remember.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, you're right. Thank you. And then she was in Don't Look Up. I don't even remember her being in that. But honestly, I've tried to just wipe that entire movie's existence out of my memory.
Yeah, totally forgot that
So,
existed until you just mentioned it.
right. But during her music career, she has won 2 Grammy Awards. She's been nominated for plenty of other musical awards as well. And then next up, she will reprise her role in Wicked Part 2.
Nice.
Thank you. And then our last one, get that crush alert button ready, Jared, if it still works. Uh, next up is Jonathan Bailey. Crush alert, please. Thank you, Jared. Jonathan Bailey plays Fiero. He is an English actor best known for starring in Netflix's Bridgerton as Lord Anthony. So he's one of the main people in Bridgerton, if you've watched that. He was also in the TV series Broadchurch and Fellow Travelers, for which he received an Emmy nomination. I've heard it's very good, but have yet to watch it. And then next up, he will also be in Wicked Part 2 and Jurassic World Rebirth. And I put God Help Us.
The dinosaurs are back. They've been
They
reborn.
just will not die. They are truly not extinct.
As long as they make money, they will keep
Yeah.
coming back. So
Although Jared did look up, I'm sorry. I keep thinking of us, me trying to get through all the Chris Pratt, anything with Chris Pratt in life.
he's
Also,
not in this new one, as far as I
know.
know.
Can I also say, every time my phone, you know how your phone listens to you. My phone knows I despise Chris Pratt, loathe, cannot stand the man. And my phone knows, but every time anything happens to him, which is it's always bad. He's always being an idiot. And my phone alerts me. They're like, "Did you hear about Chris Pine and his new son? Or Chris Pine said this thing that upset these people?" And I'm like, "Stop telling me." Or Chris Pratt. Oh my god, I said Pine.
You like Chris Pine.
Love
We're
Chris Pine. If you're new to the podcast, my obsession with Chris Evans and Chris Pine and Timothy Chalamet and Tom Hanks. Those are my men.
but
You
not
know?
Chris Pratt. So
No. The worst
yeah,
Chris.
this new Jurassic World, whatever it's called, Rebirth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jonathan Bailey, Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali.
Great cast.
Great cast.
Like honestly, I'm
Banger
intrigued.
cast.
I'm
Yeah.
intrigued. Yeah.
I'll maybe check it out. I don't know. Who
Who
knows?
knows? And I didn't
Uh,
mean to. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say this movie also stars Michelle Yeoh, Jeff Goldblum, Ethan
Yes.
Slater, Marissa Bode, and Peter Dinklage, the voice of Peter Dinklage, and then Bowen Yang's in the movie too from SNL. So
Oh yes, Bowen Yang is so funny. I did not know Peter Dinklage was going to be the voice of the goat,
of the
the
goat, yeah,
professor, and
he's very good,
I heard his voice and immediately was like, Peter, is that you?
and it was.
And it
So
was.
okay, let's get into our likes for Wicked. Obviously this movie kind of thrives on its cast. Like
Yeah.
you have to have a very good Elphaba and Galinda, if you will, and even a good Fiero, to kind of make this movie work. Because if you don't connect with the cast, relate to the cast, it's going to kind of fall flat. I will say these are very good casting choices that I were maybe skeptical of before seeing the movie. But then after seeing the movie, I think they make sense. I was the most skeptical of Ariana Grande, but I was actually really impressed with her performance in this movie. And her comedic timing as well was very
I
good, which was
mean,
unexpected.
yeah, 2 things we should have said up front. There's going to be spoilers. There's no way to avoid spoilers. However, Wicked is so I mean, it's been around so long now that I don't think we're
It's been
ruining
out for
much.
like
But
what, 20 years on Broadway,
yeah,
25
but
years
we
on
do.
Broadway? Yeah.
I don't think it's quite 20, but it's close. But
Okay.
I don't want to ruin this for anybody. But there are going to be some spoilers. Um, but this was the other thing is just this entire thing was just shocking to me. How good it was, how much I liked it. Everything was a surprise to me. And then, but Ariana, especially, I'm with you. She is so funny. She is truly a comedian. I had no idea. I think she is probably pretty troubled in real life. Like I do think I don't know that I actually like her a lot personally, but she was so good in this. And Cynthia Erivo and Ariana, I love their friendship, their dynamic. They have been every press junket stop, they have cried. Like every single one. They're
Everywhere.
crying. They say like I want to leave space for this. That's when they're like let's leave let's have
In
space
one
for this.
interview, they like sat on each other's laps.
Yes.
They hugged each
It's
other.
so
Like it's.
strange. Yeah.
I think what it is they are tired, and they might need something to eat. Um, if we handle those two things, we might be able because they have rolled them out everywhere. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't get them on this podcast. I mean, they did so many media engagements for so much stuff. Everywhere I looked, there was like a new TikTok or YouTube clip of them being interviewed by somebody.
I
So,
can't. You meant wow! I haven't laughed this hard so long. I can't believe you mentioned they need to eat because every press stop they made, I feel like there was another news story that talked about how they are too thin, and I don't think that's
yes,
funny at all. I'm laughing at how
that
funny
was
Jared.
really I mean, I was quite
It's
concerned having
alarming.
seen pictures from and the movie, the
Yeah,
production, and then what they look like now. I
yeah,
mean,
both of them.
they're
And
like skin and
Cynthia,
bones.
I
Yeah.
will say, Cynthia Revo is a hardcore fitness person. Like
Yeah, she is very
she
in shape.
is
Yeah.
extremely dedicated to her fitness regimen. Like I've heard her talk about that. I think it was even during Harriet press tour. She was talking about that. But Ariana, I don't know the situation there, but I do not think it's healthy. And just to put it out there in general for everyone, men and women, please don't emulate that. That is not healthy. Um,
Yeah.
Also, Jared mentioned to me that Wicked premiered on Broadway in 2003, and that does sound like a long time ago, and it was. And to date myself, Jared, because I was going to mention this anyway when we were talking about the movie, part of why it was so surprising to me was I saw it when it first came out on Broadway. It's the only Broadway show I've ever seen on
Oh,
Broadway,
okay.
and I went with our marching band. We had a trip to New York City. Like we played in a parade. It was not the Macy's parade, it was in Philadelphia. And then we went to New
Oh,
York
okay.
City. We got to go to New York City for several days. It was a fantastic time. But that's what we saw. And I remember it was such a good memory for so many reasons, but now's not the time. But I think one of the reasons that this movie was so shocking in the best way for me is because I think something's translated better to film than they did on Broadway. And what I mean is there were so many things that happened in the movie, like even being able to see more of the like the dorm room that they live in at Shiz University, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff you can't see on a Broadway stage, even though their sets are elaborate and stuff. And I wasn't like down on the floor either, but I think that some parts of this actually benefited from it being a film as opposed to a play. And I couldn't believe that. That was just shocking to me. But long story
You
short, Ariana was great. The casting was great, and they they are crazy on this press tour.
Yeah. You mentioned the some parts relating better on the movie front, and I would have to say I think that I really do enjoy the cinematography in this movie. They use a lot of like the camera moving through the dance sequences and stuff, which is how you would view it on Broadway.
Yes.
Because you're just sitting there in the theater watching it. So, but if you're, in the movie, filming the movie, you kind of want to have that sense of motion still going on. So instead of cutting to different shots a lot, they will just have the camera move through the scene with the actors. They did a couple of dance numbers like Dancing Through Life. Popular is another one where they're doing that.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
and I think that works well. I think it kind of creates that musical feel, Broadway
Mhm.
musical feel for the movie. So,
Yeah, I think that that's exactly that aids what I was saying. That I just think the way they filmed it and what you're able to see with camera work in a set like that was was better actually than a play. Just parts of it. I still think Broadway was outstanding, exceptional. It's bananas what they can do.
So we talked about the cast a little bit, but obviously Ariana and Cynthia have good chemistry in this movie.
Yes.
Just like Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth
Yes.
did in the
Nadel
Broadway
Tazim.
Nadel Dazeem did in the Broadway production. But there's definitely some chemistry here too. Their characters are so different. Galinda is very much like the popular girl, comes from high society,
Hmm.
wants to do the best that she possibly can, just trying to impress everybody. And then
Yes.
Elphaba is like, she's not even supposed to go to school here, which is maybe a plot point that I have a little bit of an issue with. Like,
She doesn't even go here.
she basically just does some wizard magic during the opening ceremonies of the school, and they're like, hey, you're in now, like,
Yeah.
welcome to the club. And she's dropping her sister off, and they just kind of rope her into going to school there too.
I
So
mean, Jared, we wouldn't have a story if that didn't happen.
that's true, but what if they're
Yeah.
like, you just made a big mess, and we're gonna just need you to clean that up and then go home,
Yeah.
thanks.
I
So
oh, well, speaking of characters, I did want to say I thought Jonathan Bailey, a lot of people that I've seen talking about the movie actually liked the Dancing Through Life number the best, and I did. I loved Dancing Through Life, that whole dance number and the song and all that. I no offense to the person that played him on Broadway in the show the night that I saw it. But Jonathan Bailey, I like him better as Fiero actually than the
okay.
Broadway guy that I saw. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he did a very good job and had very good chemistry with like everybody on screen. His dance number was really one of the highlights of the movie, I would say personally for me. So, let's move on to some other likes here. Obviously, costumes and makeup is very good in this movie. This will probably get Oscar nominations, I would assume, for
Yes.
costuming and hair and makeup,
Yes.
because it's just outstanding. Obviously, Elphaba looks great, and then all the other costumes, especially the big dance numbers when there's like lots of ensemble participants. The costumes look great in those particular. You can definitely tell there's like a sense of style and theme that they were going with for this movie.
Yeah, I thought the production value was through the roof of this film. That was something I did expect. I went in thinking I'm going to really hate this film. It's not going to wow me. It's not going to be as good as Broadway. It's just going to be a waste of my time. It's going to feel like 8 hours. That truly was. I just had very low expectations, but the one thing I did expect to be great was the production value. But it exceeded even those expectations. I could not believe how much thought went into every detail of the makeup, hair, costuming, set design. Incredible.
Yeah, I also liked that they built like physical sets for this movie. Like I've seen some behind the scenes stuff of
Yeah.
them actually building sets, and you can tell like it's not all green screen. And they do things specifically in certain scenes, like they will have an actor touch a railing or like touch a wall, just to kind of give you that sense of, hey, this is actually like a real thing. It is a
Yeah.
physical environment that they're interacting with, and it's not just a green screen, which they could have done. There's so many movies nowadays that just use the green screens and blue screens, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can tell, but here they actually built some physical things. I'm sure it helps that they were doing part 1 and 2 kind of together, so they're going to reuse some of that stuff for part 2, I would assume,
Right.
most likely, certain
Right.
things. So that probably factored into the decision to do that as well, but I liked that they went to that extra level to design some sets for this movie.
That's a really good call out, Jared. And another thing that I thought to mention, I did like the nods to The Wizard of Oz. Obviously, this is based on like the ideas, the characters of Wizard of Oz. Not all of them, of course. Obviously, there's not Scarecrow and Tin Man and stuff like that. But I thought that was neat. Just kind of the little callbacks they did to Wizard of Oz and the wizard and all that stuff. So anyway,
So you mentioned that, and
yeah,
there was Allison let me know that some characters in the movie were kind of references to like Wizard of Oz characters.
yeah, yeah.
So, which I
Do you know
didn't
which
think of.
ones?
Yes, I do. She told me.
Okay, okay,
So I know which ones, but I didn't notice that going in. But then after the movie, after we were talking about it, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, well, tell us. Sorry. If
I'm
you
gonna be
remember.
honest. I forget slightly.
Okay, okay.
I know Ethan Slater's character is one of them.
Uh-huh. I
Um,
wonder if he's the lion.
he might be. I can't remember.
Well,
Uh,
that's fine.
but there are certain characters in the movie that relate to those characters
Yes,
of.
I knew that too, but I don't know who is who. Yeah.
Let's see. Another like that you had is it
Yeah.
felt long but was entertaining. And I would agree. And
Yes.
you know, it's a lengthy movie, but it moves at a nice pace.
It does. Like, I actually don't think I would dock it points for the length of the film. I'm kind of unfortunately getting used to it being long. Um, but I think for the most part it was entertaining. And then my last like that I definitely wanted to mention was I like where they ended the film. I knew because of seeing it on Broadway and reading a little bit leading up to the film's release, people expected it would end at the end of Defying Gravity, the song. But I think that was a perfect place to end it. And if I remember correctly, obviously this was a while ago, but I think that is where they went to intermission on Broadway.
I think you're correct, and I actually did not love where they ended it.
Ooh, I love a disagreement.
I probably would have ended this movie when they get to the Emerald City and like when they're about to meet the wizard, when they're about to walk in and like go up those steps and meet Jeff Goldblum. That might have been where I ended it. I just thought like, you know, it makes sense to end that there in the Broadway production. You've got some conflict. You've got Elphaba deciding that she's kind of going to do her own thing. And then the nice thing about Broadway is you come back in 20 minutes and you see the resolution of that. So you think about it for a little while. I feel like with a movie, especially with a year in between, it kind of leaves it not really even on a cliffhanger. It's more of like it's kind of just a weird I mean, again, I know that's where the Broadway production leaves off, but I felt like it was just kind of a weird spot to kind of end this one movie to go into part 2. So,
I do like your idea of that actually, like ending it when they get to Emerald City. I think that would have also been a good spot to end it.
and I get that they wanted to get Defying Gravity in there. I mean, they put that in every single trailer for this movie. Again, for the 7 years that they marketed it, Defying Gravity was in there. So, yeah,
Yes.
that makes sense. Okay, on to dislikes now. First dislike: this movie is a little bit too long, especially because there's a whole other movie coming. I've also
Yeah, yeah.
heard the second act of Wicked is maybe not as strong as the first act in
It's
terms of
not.
songs and story.
It's not.
So I'm interested to see part 2, how they handle that. If they make it shorter, part
Yeah.
2 is like 60 minutes. That would be
I
awesome. Uh,
Ah.
or if they're adding some stuff to the story for part 2, you know. But I think that knowing that it's a part 1 and knowing that the Broadway production gets the whole story in like 2.5, 2:45,
Yeah.
to have a whole other movie coming and we only got the first act done is a
Yeah,
little
you know what?
shocking.
As far as my dislikes, I don't have really critiques of the film because I did think it was that good. It's just it's the two things that I put on my list are things that really aren't, it's not like a technical issue. It's one, it's hard to, even though I loved this movie, I would say I absolutely loved this movie. Even though I loved it, it's hard knowing I have to sit through another one in a year from now. Like that to me is too much. And I think it's also when people think they're a bit too important. Like they're like, I have to write this 700-page biography about my or memoir, like it seems a little self-important to me. The other thing is not really a knock on the movie, but I do think it's fair to bring this up because you and I, Jared, have talked about marketing in the past and how marketing can impact a movie. The fact that Ariana Grande broke up a marriage during the filming of this movie because she did. I mean, I'm not going to just blame her, and we always blame women, and it's not solely her fault. But the fact that a marriage ended because of a relationship that developed on this set, it is very hard, at least for me, to know that information and watch the movie and watch them interact and be in scenes together and not think about it. I was unable to divorce myself, divorce myself from that relationship, like the movie. I couldn't let them be separate things. It because of
Yeah.
of all the drama surrounding it. It's kind of like that It Ends With Us movie with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, or like like there's this has happened countless times in film, but it does impact how I viewed certain scenes.
Yeah, I would agree. When he popped up on screen for the first time, I was like, "Oh, this guy!" Like I
Yeah,
forgot that
I
he
was
was
like,
in
oh,
this movie.
SpongeBob, this guy.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then the fact that his character is kind of in a romantic relationship with another character in the movie, but also trying to pursue Ariana Grande, and then in real
Yeah.
life, you know that him and Ariana Grande are together. Just a
Yeah.
weird vibe overall.
Yep.
To this movie. Also, I have one other minor dislike.
Sure.
I did not think Jeff Goldblum's song was particularly good.
I would
You
agree with
know,
that, actually.
I
Yeah.
think that might have been the weakest song in the movie in
Yeah.
terms of how he sang it, the performance of it. Him in that like miniature set of the Emerald City or whatever was a little
Uh-huh.
strange. Him walking through that, very Jeff Goldblum-esque. I'm sure he was like, "We'll do
Yes.
it, and we'll have like the miniature set of Emerald City, and I'll walk through it and be in a green suit. It'll be incredible."
Yeah.
But I just didn't really love that song at the near the end of the movie, but I thought all the other songs were pretty strong. So
I would agree. And I think you're right. I think that was the weakest song. I admire him for going up against such powerhouse vocalist and singing. But yeah, but overall, I mean, this film just it blew me away. It exceeded all of my expectations, every single one. So I was
yeah,
pleasantly surprised. And I'm eating my words because but I feel better that I had low expectations and was surprised.
yeah, I was the same way. I mean, I did
Yeah.
not go in thinking it was going to be that great of a movie. I didn't love that it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, but then watching it, Ariana and Cynthia won me over. The musical numbers were outstanding
Yep.
in the filming of them and the choreography. You mentioned the sets, the costumes, all that stuff really popped on screen. And I enjoyed watching all of those.
Right.
So yeah, I think overall it was a pretty solid movie for a part one. We'll have to see how they close it out in part two. But
Yes. Yes.
I think my score for this one
Hmm.
will be I'm gonna go with a 77 out of 100.
Whoa, that's
Enjoyed it.
lower than I was gonna do.
Okay. I mean, I enjoyed it.
77.
Yes, I think that I was going in think this was going to be like a movie in the 50s or the 60s for me. So
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised that was better than that. So
Well, you know what? That's fair, and I appreciate it. I am going quite a bit higher. I'm giving it a 90.
okay,
I don't think it's going to be the best film I see this year, but I was so shocked by how good it was, and even just based on how very little I could critique about it. I mean, it's a really good movie. Also, not really an apology, but if people came to this podcast and they're obsessed with the book and the music and the Broadway-ness of the show, like I don't have that background, which might have also helped with my expectations. Like I didn't, it's not like some people there'd be a Harry Potter film that came out and they'd be like, Bill Weasley actually said this on page 437. Like knew it that detailed. I didn't have that going into this film, which I think really helped. Like I felt very separated from when I saw it on Broadway and all that stuff, and I have not read the book. So anyway, that's how I feel about it. But 77 and 90. Okay. I think
yeah,
that's good though. Either way, we were both really surprised. I would definitely recommend this film. This is also a film I would gladly watch again. Like it's one that because a lot of films lately, I don't really care if I ever watch them again. This one I actually want to watch again.
yeah. I would definitely watch this again for
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, well, that wraps up this episode of the Silver Screen Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram. That's where you can slide into the DMs. It's Podcast Silver on Instagram,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm not going to mention X because the X platform is,
I'm not
kind
even
of
on it.
yeah, I don't get on it very
I
often
will not
anymore
support
either.
that platform.
Yeah, and then we're on Facebook too. Just search the Silver Screen Podcast. You can find us there as well. We don't have TikTok or Snapchat yet, but maybe we'll
No.
add it. You never know.
You never now's the time for us to
Now's
get on
the
there.
time,
Absolutely.
Like 6 months left. Let's go ahead and start some new social media platforms. So
Until next time, we'd like to thank the Academy.